In this video, we are going to simplify radicals, but in order for you to do that, you need to keep in mind that you're going to be able to simplify a radical if you understand that they need to have a member from the perfect square family in order for you to simplify them. If you have a number inside a radical that don't have a member of this family, those are the numbers that you won't be able to simplify. I'm going to give you one at the end. But let's talk about the perfect square. We're going to start with 1, but in this case, we never use 1 because 1 is not going to change the outcome of the radical, the number on the inside. So here you have 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, and you just go and keep going. What is special about those numbers? That each one of them, when you find the square root, you're always going to end up getting a whole number. That's why they're special. If you notice and you follow the pattern here, in some cases, you might struggle because you're not looking into the list. But that list is not difficult for you to create it if you forget. All you need to do is just start with number 1 and start multiplying with 1. For example, 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 4 is 16, 5 times 5 is 25, 6 times 6 is 36, and so on. So like that, you have that list in front of you, especially if you're taking a test. Now, once you have that family here perfect square, and you go, let's say, to a number like here, like 75, what you need to say to yourself is, which one of those numbers from the family is a multiple of 75? Clearly, 4 is not, or 9, or 16. 25 is a factor of 75. All right, but remember, the key here is that you need to find the highest number from the perfect square family, because if you don't do that, you won't be able to simplify on your first try. So if you keep going here, 36 is not, 49, you see that numbers now are getting higher and closer to 75. So what that tells you is that that's basically, in this case, the only number. So how you gonna do that setup here? You're gonna say here, 25 times 3 here, which is 75, equals, you see, what is the square root of 25? 5. And obviously the square root of 3, it stays on the inside, and this is basically simplified in lowest terms. There is nothing else you can do about that one. So you need to be careful when you're doing this. All right? Now let's go to the next one. What is the difference between the first one and the second one is that in here now you have a coefficient that you need to take into account, but we're going to use the coefficient after we finish simplifying that 32 that you see here. And once again, you're going to take here the 32 and you're going to look into the family here. All right, I'm going to show you what happens if you don't choose the highest number from the beginning. So for example here, 32, 4 is obviously a multiple of 32, so it's good. 9 is not. 16 is also a multiple of 32. But let's say in here that you never saw the 16 and you're going to use the 4. So how you're going to set up the example? It's going to look like this. 5 times 4 times 8. In this case, what you're going to do next is you're going to say 5, but you see the square root of 4 is going to give you 2, and then you have the square root of 8 there. So basically, when you take out the radical 4 in this case, and you already have a coefficient outside, the rule is that you need to multiply them always. So what is 5 times 2 here? It's going to give you 10. And then you have, and then you have the square root of 8 there. But now in this case here, if you notice, this is not simplified completely. And the reason is because you see 8 here inside the radical, and still have a number from this family, which is 4. So in this case, you see you need to keep going and say 10 radical 4 times radical 2. So because 4 times 2 is 8, that's how you know it keeps going, and 4 is also a perfect square. So basically in this case, you are going to repeat the same process, and you're going to say here now equals 10, the square root of 4 equals to 2, and then you have the square root of 2. 10 times 2 equals to 20, and now you have the answer here in lowest terms. But if you notice, look at all of the steps that you needed to use here. If you use 4, see 4 is not the highest, it's 16. So anytime when you fail to use the highest, you're going to end up basically doing the example like you can say 2 times. So let me show you now below how the example is going to look when you use a 16. So if we go back here now, I'm going to use a 16, so it's going to be 5 times 16 times 2, right? Because 16 times 2 is 32, and 16 is also a perfect square. So in this case, you're going to say here now, you have 5. What is the square root of 16? 4. And then you have the square root of 2. In this case, I'm not even going to keep going. I'm just going to show you the answer from here. What is 5 times 4? 20. And the square root of 2. So if you notice, it's better for you to identify the highest perfect square that goes into the number. So like that, you avoid all of this work, because more likely when that happens, you're going to end up making a mistake somewhere. All right? So keep that in mind, and see you for the next video here.